B.F. Skinner certainly wasn't the first person to work with this type of learning, but he is responsible for naming it operant conditioning. He was influenced by lots of other folks, but you'll want to identify what B.F. Skinner's research was all about. So operant conditioning involves the consequences of a behavior. In other words, when people or animals do something, what happens afterwards? Are we rewarded for that behavior? Are we given some reinforcement? If we are, then we're more likely to do that behavior in the future. Are we punished for some behavior? Because if we're punished, we're less likely to do that behavior in the future. So this is what operant conditioning is. This is what Skinner worked with, and he used rats in cages. These cages actually were so associated with Skinner that they are now called Skinner boxes. He actually hated that. He preferred they be called operant conditioning chambers. We're going to call them Skinner boxes because that just sounds easier and more fun. So in the Skinner box, here is what Skinner and others would do. They would place a rat inside the box, and there would be particular contraptions and particular things that could happen depending on what the rats would do. Well, in order to reinforce the rats, Skinner used food. And so Skinner would use a process called shaping to gradually give rats food whenever they did things that he wanted. And let's say he wanted them to push a lever. Well, if they moved in the direction of the lever, he would press a button and they would get food. They would get reinforced for that action. If you keep reinforcing that action, eventually they would touch the lever, and then you give them food for that, and then you just keep building on that until eventually the rat will just go in the cage, press the button, because food will come right after that. So that behavior has been reinforced. Skinner also used these Skinner boxes to punish rats to make them less likely to do a behavior. If the rat presses the button and it receives an electrical shock in the cage thereafter, well, then pressing the button has now been punished, and the rat's less likely to do that again in the future. So Skinner used these rats in these Skinner boxes to use the consequences of their actions, reinforcers or punishers, to see how their behavior was changed. And from his research, we learn a lot about animal training, about child raising, about how we live our own lives. So as you go through Skinner's research, think about examples of how operant conditioning can apply to you.